Good one. Yeah. Donnell's back from vacation. He went. Yeah. Blame the TriCaster.
He was back yesterday, too.
What's that?
He was back yesterday, if you didn't notice.
Yeah. What's that, him?
Yeah.
It's funny, him and Mark look and sound a little bit alike, and they're both Irish.
You think Donald Duck is related to Donald Duck?
Well, Donald's not a duck.
They got the same last name.
Well, they got the same first name. He's just missing the D.
No, native first name.
The duck?
Donald.
Donald, is your last name Duck in the control room there? Give us a camera shot of you. He's definitely not a duck.
Yeah, and put your pants back on.
Put your pants back on. Hey, that's true. You couldn't tell if he was wearing pants or not. What would he?
Well, he never seems to. Like,
if you didn't have to, would you wear pants?
You think Donald's old enough to wear some pants, and you're supposed to say why? Did you just see what he dragged through my soup?
No, if I missed the hook, Ed. You think he's wearing pants? Would you wear pants if you could? He's wearing pants. There we go.
You think I'd wear pants if I didn't need to?
Yes, that's what I'm asking you.
No.
Anyways, quite the show we have for you guys all here today.
Okay.
I have a special guest who just unbeknownst and unbeknown to me.
This is sort of a off the...
David Marsden. Not just, well, currently the spirit behind New York, the Spirit, but most importantly, if you were going to classify any individual on the planet as the spirit of radio, it would be David Marsden. He is famous in the locale around Toronto and actually around the world. For people who were, it was way back in 1979 when Dave Marsden created the first alternative music show and basically educated a whole new generation of fans. In fact, I used to skip school, hit 3 hits of acid, and get wasted listening to David Marsden's Spirit of Radio and listen to all these great new bands, and that's what we used to do, is skip school. Anyways, David Marsden's going to be here for a brief conversation about the cannabis industry and how cannabis companies are going to perhaps maybe find a new welcome place for advertising their weed. Anyways, David Marsden. And then Ravi Sood is going to be here. He's the CEO of Golani Gold. Don't know if you've been watching. Golani Gold's up about 25-30% since we started yapping about it. Full disclosure, I am a shareholder. I have been buying it. I will sell without notice just because I'm that kind of reckless, crazy kind of guy. No, or I might hold on to it forever because maybe gold's going to like $2,500. Maybe gold's going to
$20,000.
$20,000 an ounce. Actually, there's a great piece.
I saw it.
You did?
Yeah.
Did I forward it to you?
No.
Oh, you forwarded it to me?
No.
Where'd you? Which one?
Somebody sent me a piece. This is what you're going to say, I think.
What?
Is that if there was never any intervention, gold would be about $60,000 today. Is that the one you're talking about?
Well, no. Is that really?
Yeah.
Because, are you kidding me?
No.
Really?
I'll show it. I'll send it to you.
Because I just wrote a paragraph on the weekend saying that if you wanted to buy all the gold in the world that's above the ground today, and that is roughly 170,000 metric tons, it would cost you roughly $9 trillion to buy all the gold in the world. If you wanted to buy...
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm positive. Because I spent a whole weekend doing this math.
What if you wanted to sell it?
Well, if you wanted to buy all the currencies in the world using gold, gold would have to be $53,000 an ounce.
Well, that's what this guy is saying.
Because there's $80 trillion worth of currency, $224 trillion worth of debt. Do you have any gold, Ed?
Yeah, I do. I have a gold coin.
Gold teeth?
Gold teeth.
Gold cock ring?
You look.
What? What? Suddenly you turn red on me. Boy, oh boy. You squeamish.
What kind of ring?
Are you a little bit of a prude?
I told you when I see people kissing on TV, I have to leave the room.
Really?
Even
that's right.
When
You
I'm by
are a
myself.
prude.
When I'm by myself, I think, oh my God, I can't watch this. And I'm by myself. I'm thinking, who's going to see me? And you know what? Yet I'll watch other things that are a little more raunchy, and no problem. But just
really, raunchy is okay, but just a little peck on the cheek, and you got to leave the room. Well, that's almost grotesque. I can see why you'd want to leave the room.
They used to call me fish lips.
Fish lips. That's an interesting name. You don't really seem to have fish lips. Wait, Ed. Let's not get us started on. Let's not get down the track of X-rated video today.
All right.
The cannabis space. Good, bad, ugly? What are you seeing? What are you liking?
I don't, I got to be honest. Like, as I look at weed and I see weed approaching 35, I see CanTrust under 250.
Oh, under 250.
Yeah. Now,
well,
I noticed
that's not even a weed company anymore.
There's some bright spots here. C-Web's up. Afria's up. There are a lot of names. There's new names out there, but I got to tell you, a lot of the excitement has been sort of wrenched out of this.
Really?
That's what
You're saying the party's over?
No, I'm not saying the party's over. You never say never, but
what are you saying?
It's not like it was.
Huh.
Well,
don't know if you can see my NDI in there, Donald, but looking at the cannabis charts, they're all red again today. Red being the color of blood. And this is blood in the streets yet again. Large cap index down 1.14% at this hour. Small cap index down 1.08%. Venture index down 2.57%, and the CSE is down 1.24%. So yet another day, what would be classified as the downward summer drift amid the dumb doldrums of summer.
That's the word I thought of, drifting.
Drifting.
Like High Plains Drifter.
Cruising. No, what's that song?
Cruising on a Sunday afternoon.
No. Never mind. I can't remember now. I'm all nervous because David Marsden's going to come up next. Actually, without further ado, here's the news. And when we come back, we're going to have a conversation with David Marsden, the spirit of radio.
David will be sitting here.
Here's what's making cannabis news this Wednesday, August 21st. Vapen MJ Ventures released its Q2 interim financial statements ended June 30, 2019. Q2 revenue was $6.7 million USD and gross margin was $3.1 million USD, 46% of revenue. Net income was $1.2 million USD or 2 cents USD per share. Cash and cash equivalents at the end of Q2 were $5.2 million USD. Tilray has entered into an agreement with Canna Medical Pharma to export a wholesale shipment of $3.3 million worth of medical cannabis from Portugal to Germany. The shipment, which is expected to be completed in fall of 2019, will be Tilray's first from its EU campus in Portugal to supply patients in Germany. Curaleaf Holdings Inc. has obtained eligibility with the Depository Trust Company for its shares listed on the OTCQX. DTC eligibility provides cost benefits for investors and brokers trading in our securities in the United States. Sundial Growers has successfully entered the Saskatchewan market with its recent shipment of high-quality cannabis. In Saskatchewan, licensed cannabis producers can sell directly to retailers rather than through a board, making this a unique Canadian market. The first product shipped to Saskatchewan is Zen Berry under Sundial's Calm product line. FSD Pharma Inc. announced the launch of its online ordering system for the direct fulfillment of medicinal cannabis orders. Clients with a prescription from a medical practitioner or a registration number with Health Canada can now place an order online for dried cannabis on fvpharma.com. Tetro Biopharma has signed an agreement with Thorne Research and Longevity Health to form a joint venture, CB2 Therapeutics Inc. CB2 Therapeutics will focus on developing compounds for chronic inflammatory conditions with high unmet needs or that are poorly served with existing therapies. All parties grant the joint venture an exclusive, fully paid, royalty-free license to use their respective intellectual property for global product development and commercialization. The joint venture is targeting an initial raise of $10 million USD to commence its phase 2 clinical trials for irritable bowel syndrome and the commercialization of its dietary supplements for interstitial cystitis. And that's your news for today. If you want to hear more, check out the Cannabis Daily at MidasLetter.com.
And I don't know where you grew up, but I grew up in Niagara region, and back then we put a lot of stock into the radio. It was the only way to find out about new music at the time. You youngsters are obviously looking at me and thinking, what an old fart. But anyways, back then radio used to be divided into opera, classical, rock and roll, and pop. And that was it. Every station was one version of one of those four. Until in 1979, CFNY 102.1 came along and they rebranded themselves as the Spirit of Radio under the guidance of my next guest, Mr. David Marsden, who is the Spirit of Radio. David, thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
David,
I'm excited that you're excited.
I am so excited.
I can tell.
You
It's
can't
fantastic.
imagine. I'm going to try not to make an idiot out of myself. So tell me, what have you been doing since the Spirit of Radio last aired, and when was that?
I left there around 1989. For young people, that sounds like, well, when was that?
That's right. Generations ago.
Yeah, and then I went to Vancouver. I spent 10 years there, and then I came back here, and I started up Iceberg Media. And from there, I did a few other things. And recently, within the past 5 years, I started up nythespirit.com, which the NY is sort of CFNY, and the Spirit is sort of the Spirit of Radio.
Right.
And Rush wrote a song about us.
Well, I remember the outro or the intro to your show used to be the closing refrain of.
That's more than I remember.
Really? That was the last bar of the Spirit of Radio.
Yeah.
And do I remember that song? I mean, Rush was one of the bands that I grew up on. I think it was the third concert I ever saw was the Farewell to Kings tour of Rush in Buffalo, New York, back in, God, I don't even want to try to remember, but let's just say that half the bands that I went on to live and love, and I say live, I actually quit school in grade 10 and traveled across the countryside following music concerts because music was my everything back then.
Really? Wow.
And yes,
that's amazing.
Overindulging in psychedelics. So, I mean, we could go on and on about the evolution of radio, but specifically I was interested in talking to you today because in Canada we have now cannabis is legal, and
You are kidding.
so I hear, I don't know why.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
but the cannabis companies are prevented by law from advertising in any overt way or
Yes.
promoting anything to do with cannabis,
Yes.
and the cannabis companies uniformly are not exactly happy about that.
No, I understand.
And so, some of us are trying to lobby the government to change its thinking, because if we looked at California, competition is differentiated, or at least possible, because advertising is possible. And so, from where you sit in a lifetime of advertising in the radio format, how important is radio to a recreational brand that is associated with mind-altering experiences like cannabis?
I don't think the radio that comes over the air is necessary. There's another way to do this. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what that is. But there is another way to do this. It does involve music, and it does involve a worldwide, or at least Canada-wide, description of what you're talking about. It's like taking what the radio you remember so fondly, and the radio that I've spent my life building and working in, has now moved elsewhere. And people are elsewhere on any smart device. They're not listening to radio. They're listening to the web, the internet, if you will.
Right.
And so what I'm working on looks at the past, but primarily it looks to the future. What's going to happen tomorrow? And in maybe in a few months I'll tell you the answer to that question.
Well, so we'll now be certainly staying tuned. But in your opinion, do you think that the rules restricting advertising and promotion of cannabis, do they seem to you to be a little bit excessive in their overarching suppression of any sort of form of advertising or promotion, especially relative to alcohol, which enjoys some ability?
Well, of course they're wrong, but when people in Ottawa or wherever they were, when they thought of cannabis, they thought of it as something they did when they were 17, and ooh, we can't talk about that. And then they said, well, we'll go ahead, we'll be the first country in the world to do this. But then they were nervous that little babies were going to start smoking cannabis. Can you imagine? It would be in the formula.
Most of the babies I've heard squalling could use some cannabis.
You must ride public transit. They were overcautious. In Ontario, they were even more overcautious. Just today or yesterday, they were handing out another load of people who won some kind of lottery to be able to have a store.
Right.
I don't, to me, it should be out in the same way, at least, as the liquor control people are across our nation.
Sure, that would be fair.
Those rules are somewhat antiquated, but there are ways of doing things that don't necessarily. You can work between the lines, is what I'm saying. I can't say much more, or they'll arrest me. But
I was going to say, I didn't know any better. I'd say you're advocating for cannabis. No. Okay, so we're going to talk about ways that people can approach this alternatively. In your experience, do you think that, and this is almost going to sound like a really juvenile, pedantic question for somebody like you, but do you think that the music world is a natural place for cannabis advertisers to be promoting the positive side of cannabis?
did you ever smoke cannabis?
Once or twice.
When you were like 18 or 19 listening to CFNY?
Oh yes, that's in fact why we listen to CFNY.
Precisely the point. Cannabis and music are tied. They go hand in hand. They walk together. It used to be in the old days, you do up a number, you'd toke a few and put away a joint or whatever the word was. And then the first thing you do is turn on your music, whether it be CFNY, whether it be your own albums, or today it could be nythespirit.com.
Yeah, right. Okay, so tell me a bit more about nythespirit.com. How did you come up with that? Where does it reside? How do people listen to it?
Well, it resides worldwide. We have servers across all of Canada. And a friend of mine and myself, 5 years ago, we put this thing together. We built it. And it's a subscription-based model. You pay $5.99 a month, which is about 20 cents a day. We feed 24/7 stream. Plus, we have 6 DJs, counting myself, who put shows into the stream. And for example, in the old CFNY days, we promised people that they could listen for 24 hours and not hear the same song.
Yep.
And if they caught us doing that, we'd give them money.
Right.
Well, at nythespirit.com, we've extended that. Now you can listen for 48 hours and not hear the same song. One of the problems that old-fashioned radio has is they play the same 20 songs over and over and over, and it gets really dull.
Right.
So there's no question about the fact that we're a specialized service. Just being a subscription service, we are.
Yep.
But if you love the music of the 80s, if you love the music of the 90s, if you love the new music today that no one else is playing, you have to come to nythespirit.com.
Wow.
Because we are going forward so quickly with it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I remember that so many of the new bands emerging in the 80s. Well, that was an interesting time in music because it was really, rock and roll had sort of evolved and started to fragment into, first it was, I guess, punk rock, and then there was ska, and then there was, the Flock of Seagulls, this extreme new wave, ethereal sort of trancey stuff, and then, then the 80s brought on the rave scene, and it's now just gotten so fragmented that we have genres of music that people say, are you into this kind of music? And I say, oh, is that a new genre? Because I've never heard of it.
But one of the things that the internet has done is it has opened up Pandora's box. Now people know there's more than just top 40. The old days where they played 40 songs over and over and over again. People are now, young people in particular, are going out and listening to all forms of music. And then they'll have a particular one. CFNY, when we started in 78 or 79, we were playing things like AC/DC and Black Sabbath that no one else was playing. But once those groups made it to mainstream, I'll call it, then we had to go, we verged into punk and then ultimately new wave, and et cetera. So my thinking is to gather all of this together. It makes a wonderful picture and an amazing sound. Your ears going, whoa, what's that?
Yeah, no doubt.
I haven't heard that before.
No kidding. So with the fracturing of the global audience into all these different genres, and now it's so easy to broadcast your own radio station, your playlist, SoundCloud. I mean, it's become almost, I wouldn't say impossible to monetize radio because it's not radio anymore, as you said. But so what is there, is it still a viable medium for advertisers to reach an audience of a certain size?
Are you speaking old-fashioned radio, or are you speaking the
Well,
new,
I'm talking
new
about
radio?
now, like the new radio. So radio is not a good term. It's now a
Yeah.
stream. So
Yeah.
streamingly, but audiences I find are so fragmented that it's hard to develop a large audience in any single format.
But that fragmentation is the secret. You have to. It's not just one radio station. It's 5, 6, 7, 10, 100. Doesn't matter. There's no limit, because there are some people who want to hear nothing but jazz. That's a lecture. Somebody might want to hear a little bit of jazz mixed in with a little bit of rock, mixed in with a little bit of whatever. That's part of the secret. Because as people have expanded, as people have grown up and become adults, successful adults like yourself, you're looking for more than just those 20 songs, aren't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, since CFNY and the spirit of radio, I never play an album. I don't like to DJ. I like to find a station on the internet that's playing an eclectic mix of everything from, cowboy punk to jazz to...
You just found it. It's called nythespirit.com.
I can't believe I had to have you come into the studio to find out about this, but I'm so glad I did. And we're going to leave it there
And there's
for now.
more to come, let me tell you.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're going to follow your story because I know what you're up to, and we're going to bring it to a wider audience, I like to think.
I think so.
David, thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to have you
you.
back soon.
Pleasure's mine.
You bet.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next, Ravi Sood, the chairman of Golani Gold, is going to tell us about his recent financials and what the future holds for Golani Gold. Stay tuned.
Galani Gold is an unhedged gold producer and explorer with mining operations and exploration tenements in Botswana and South Africa. Galani Gold's management team is comprised of senior mining professionals with extensive experience in managing mining, processing operations, and large-scale exploration programs. Galani Gold is committed to operating at world-class standards and is focused on the safety of its employees, respecting their environment, and contributing to the communities in which it operates. Golani Gold trades on the TSX Venture under the ticker GG.
Ravi Sood joins me now, chairman of Golani Gold. Ravi, welcome back.
Always a pleasure, James.
Ravi, you guys pumped out some financials the other day, and they are pretty impressive considering these are from the second quarter of 2019.
Exactly. Yeah, we produced in the second quarter. We released it recently. 8,700 ounces approximately of gold, and that was, we achieved an average selling price of $1,305, had a cash cost for the quarter of $966, and as a result had cash flow from operations of approximately $2.9 million US for the quarter. And that's significant for a company like us with a very modest market cap, but we were really keen to highlight the fact that it was $1,305 was the average realized price for the quarter. Looking at Q3, we're obviously not all the way through it yet. We're 2 months into it almost, but we're looking at a much higher average price, like maybe even approaching $1,500 if things stay where they are. And that has huge, profound implications for a company like us as a gold producer. Mm-hmm. Of course, all gold companies benefit from higher gold price in terms of sentiment and future cash flows and that sort of thing. But
right.
It's very real and present for us as a gold producer making gold each and every day. And if you extrapolate from our results from Q2 and pick your gold price for Q3, you can see the kind of impact it can have on our business.
Yeah, if you had $200 more per ounce, you said 8,700 ounces?
Right.
So that's another 1.74 million.
Of incremental cash flow,
right.
not our cash flow, not our revenue. That's the incremental cash flow from what was already a very good quarter.
Interesting. So, so that puts you on track then for 4/8, 35,000 ounces for the year?
Yeah, we're forecasting for 2019 approximately 32,000 ounces. 34,000 ounces. Most of that is from our core operation in Botswana, the Mupani gold mine. And the additional bit is from the Galaxy mine, our operation that we just commissioned this year in South Africa. That's in a process of ramping up. The highlights there are that we've got concentrate being produced. We're mining, we're milling, we're shipping the concentrate on a weekly basis. And we're basically in the process of an underground mine of getting into the key ore body, the Galaxy ore body, that very important for us to get into. So while we have some modest production over the next several months, it's about April 2020 that we hit the important part of that ore body and get into what we would consider a steady state production level in what we call phase one. So about 25,000 ounces a year. A lot more detail available for investors with the technical reports filed on CDAR, of course. But in round numbers, that's the objective, and then lots of room to expand from there. But that's our important first milestone with the Galaxy project.
Sure, and you guys have, on a look-forward basis, you have a lot bigger plans for Galaxy, don't you?
Exactly. So Galaxy's been mined on some basis going as far back as 1888, if you can believe that. It's one of the first gold mines or discoveries in South Africa. And it kicked off a whole gold rush to the region 100 plus years ago. So these ore bodies are well understood, they're huge, there's a large resource there. And we also have neighbors, particularly Pan-African Resources, it's about 30 kilometers away from us. Very similar style ore bodies and deposits. They've been operating, producing 90 to 95,000 ounces a year for many years. Very profitable operation, really the core of that business, and contributing huge cash flow to their company. And they're much deeper than we are, or that we've even explored with our existing ore bodies. So we have a high degree of confidence that we'll be there for a very long time. 1888 is already a long way to look back,
Sure.
But there's no reason to believe that we won't be there for a long time into the future. And in terms of increasing the production from that initial phase one that we talked about, the 25,000, the run rate that we will hit next year, two main things. Number one is what we would call a phase two expansion. That's two things: doubling the milling capacity. We've already built the mill to have much higher capacity as it is. Of course, we just have some additional capex as we ramp up to that. That's relatively simple. It's a linear expansion, if you will. Second thing is doubling the mining capacity, and the nature of the ore bodies, the nature of the infrastructure of the mine, we can do that. Additional working capital required, but at these gold prices, our business is generating a lot. So that's the next big growth opportunity. That's basically doubling the potential output there. We still need to do a bankable feasibility study on that, but all that work is commenced and in progress. The next one would be going to actually recovering more of the gold. So right now, the approach we've taken is to ship concentrate, and we have an excellent offtake partner that is paying us a percentage of the contained gold. So we're not doing you could say the last one or two steps of the processing,
right?
And we're getting 75% of the contained gold.
Wow.
Our neighbors who have a similar metallurgy to their ore bodies, the refractory ore, other issues around it, they've got a BIOX plant running, and they're achieving 90+% recoveries.
BIOX plant is?
BIOX is basically bio-oxidization, so use of bacteria to do what you would otherwise do through chemical process or physical process to extract the gold from complex ores.
Wow.
And it's been working very well for many years. We do have an old BIOX plant at our operation. We chose not to try to commission it during the phase one or early in phase two. Reason being is they're notoriously difficult to start up. Additional capital required, and certainly looking back over the last couple of years, capital has been scarce in our sector. And finally, and very importantly, you need a continuous, stable source of ore feed to that BIOX plant. You need to feed those bacteria a consistent food supply, and then they can achieve great results. But that leap from 75% recovery to 90+, again, huge impact, very short payback on commissioning that BIOX plant, and that's something we'd definitely be looking at a couple of years out. So not just getting into the steady state of phase one, huge impact on us as a 30 to 34,000 ounce a year gold producer. Adding another 25,000 ounces of production is a big deal, but doubling that again and then adding potentially another 15% on top of that with relatively low risk incremental investments in an existing operation, not having to do an acquisition, not banking on some discovery or fundamentally changing anything else about our company.
Okay, so since the gold price has sort of started to be solid at 1,500, have you noticed a great influx of interest from the investment community into your company?
It's a 180-degree reversal, James.
6 months ago, nobody cared?
6 months, even 3-4 months ago, nobody cared. And looking back there were a few small pockets of interest, but looking back 5 years, nobody's cared. And in the last few weeks, I've got lots of inbounds from friends and family, inbounds from brokers and high net worth individuals, and inbounds from institutions, smaller opportunistic ones.
Right.
We're not talking about Fidelity calling, but I haven't had any of that for years. So going from zero to something is a huge move. And I think my observation as a former fund manager and somebody who's really closely follows flow of funds, and that certainly is going to have a huge impact on this sector, people are virtually at zero. People have really been caught flat-footed on this move in gold and precious metals, and the shift in narrative has been so quick that it's not like you're seeing most investors, even the savvy leading-edge hedge fund guys or thought leaders out there, really well positioned on gold and ready for this.
Except Eric Sprott, of course.
Well, he's just been phenomenal, but
he's never wavered.
He's had one setting for a very long time, and he's been mostly right. So good for him.
That's right. So Mark Mobius, 30-year veteran, strategist with Templeton, he was on Bloomberg yesterday, and he was saying that they asked him, what about gold? Where does gold figure into this negative interest rate environment and bonds? And he says, well, you should be buying gold at any price. He says, any level, just buy it, buy it.
It was a great soundbite and a very quotable line. And I mean, distilling it, I think what he meant was that you shouldn't be distracted by, was it up 1% or 2% or down 3%? The trend is clear. It's upward. And that the move from 1,200 to 1,300 and then the sprint from the 1,300s to 1,500, that's great, but it could actually be a very small part of the ultimate move. And that's certainly what we believe and what I personally believe.
Sure. So the investors obviously are going to be clamoring for gold and gold companies as this price advances. How many companies are there in the entire market, like Golani, that are super undervalued, qualitatively forward-looking statements? Small print here, but how many companies are there like yours out there that are actually producing gold at a profitable rate and have expansion potential and yet have a low market cap where there's lots of upside in it, especially in terms of a beta to the price of gold should the price of gold continue to rise?
There are some, and I think you'll find that if you looked at today's gold price and assume that was the going rate for the next few years, you could find a few that are actually really quite dramatically undervalued, but not that many. And I've in my narrative, I've been telling people this cycle is going to look very different than the last big gold run and mining run. And why is that? A few reasons. The last time we had a big move in the 2000s and gold went from 250, 300 to ultimately peaking at $1,900 plus, you had a huge inventory of projects, discoveries that were made in the 90s, even going back to the 70s and 80s, things that were on the shelf. A lot of them in good jurisdictions, even Canada, Australia, US, and elsewhere. And savvy guys who knew where they were, knew where to find them, and knew what to do, and the capital markets opened the window for them, did something about them. A lot of those projects got built, acquired by majors. They're in some process of development or are already running today.
Right.
Since then, despite a huge amount of money spent on exploration in the 2000s and about 10 years ago, very few major discoveries. And what you're going to see in this next cycle is less things to pull off the shelf as development projects, and especially less things to pull off the shelf in what you'd call the good or tier 1 jurisdictions. It's going to be harder and harder to find. So there's going to be more scarcity to actual gold production, and there's going to be more scarcity to projects that are operating in stable jurisdictions. Harder and harder to have interesting scale discoveries at this point, and even harder still to pull something that was already discovered and not yet developed and turn it into a gold mine. So all of those things are quite different than what we experienced in the 2000s.
Right. All right, Ravi, let's leave it there for now. That's a great update. Congratulations on a good quarter. Can't wait to see the next one. Full disclosure, I am a shareholder and I am buying the stock. We'll come back to you soon. Thanks for joining me today.
I look forward to it. Thanks, James.
Yeah, about that Golani Gold, just buying another 100,000 shares. I can't help myself.
you see,
hey, they're a client, by the way. Their client engagement expires September 15th, but we're probably going to renew it. I am buying it for investment purposes, so...
But you can sell it at any time. You're not going to tell anybody.
I'm not going to tell anybody. No,
Look, how if a marijuana company came out and said they made cash flow in the quarter of $2.5 million, which I think was that what he said? Like that's cash flow, extra cash that quarter, right? The cost is 9 and something. They're selling gold for 13 and something. Do you know what that stock would be trading at? There isn't probably a marijuana company out there that's making that much money. And here this thing is. It's sitting there.
just sitting there.
15 million market cap.
Waiting to be bought. I'm on the bid right now, actually, so just by way of disclosure. So not to be trusted. We're not to be trusted. This is what? We're talking our book here. We're interested. We're trading
We're talking
we're in,
about-
we're out.
We're talking about the
We're
way
basically the pirates of the Great Lakes.
How about Pirates of Penzance?
How about pirates of Bay Street?
I think there's other pirates that are bigger on Bay Street already.
Definitely, we're small
I think
fry when it comes to the pirates
small
of Bay
fry.
Street.
We're the
There's way bigger pirates.
if we were pirates, we wouldn't be on TV. We wouldn't be on the show. We wouldn't have a show.
That's right, because we'd be like, no, I don't want to.
We'd be talking to guys like us. We try to sell them our deals.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not the
Actually,
pirates.
we'd be the exit strategy. Wait a sec, we are the exit strategy. Hey, wait a second.
Why does it, when I stop beating my head against the wall, does it feel so good?
Actually, the 3-month period, the period ending 3 months, June 30th for Galani Gold, they reported revenue of $11.4 million, Edward. And yeah, all in cash costs,
Revenue for how much for the quarter?
11.4 million.
So it's a run rate about 45 a year.
45 million for the year.
So usually companies trade for at least 1 time's revenue.
So the gross profit of this was just about $1.1 million.
Yeah.
This was the second quarter though, when they sold most of their gold at $1,300 an ounce. This is $200 an ounce higher now. That's another 2 point some odd million.
Yeah. No, they're printing money.
Yeah. No, so but this is it. And they're going to like 50,000, they're going to 30,000, 38, 40,000 ounces.
Spit it out.
Then they're going, you know, they've got another deposit going into production, the Galaxy deposit. I mean, this is the thing. It's like, this is the kind of thing that you can position yourself in for cheap when the gold bull market is just starting. And these are the kinds of companies that you suddenly turn
Yeah.
around in one day
Yeah.
and they're trading at a multiple. Why? Because they're throwing off cash.
If you had a basket of these things, a basket I say,
A basket.
a tisket, a tasket.
A green and yellow basket. Ella Fitzgerald.
So you're right, though. But this are the kinds of companies that are
right.
going to move first. And then when you got guys out there, they're thinking, what should I buy first?
Yeah.
Someone's going to look at this thing and say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This thing's throwing off cash.
Yeah.
We can buy it for this.
Yeah.
Like right now, if there's 200 million, is there 200 million shares?
Yeah, 200 million shares.
Okay, let's say
80
that's-
million shares in the float.
Okay, 200 million. Let's say there's a little more than that. So it's capped at less than 20 million, and the revenue run rate is over 45. It's around 45, more than 45 million, because now they're getting the big bucks, the $1,500 bucks.
Yeah. Okay, so last time gold touched an all-time high of $1,924. Do you remember that?
2011.
2011 in September the 8th, was it?
Yep.
Okay, so if gold was to go back to $1,920
Yeah.
per ounce, then Galani's quarter would have been 15 million bucks.
I'm telling you, this is the kind of company that if you got a little patience, more and more people are going to flock to this, because when the quarters come out, you see, and I'm not knocking marijuana companies. I'm just saying they're not making this kind of money.
No, what? Well,
Some of them are.
Charlotte's Web.
No.
$100 million run rate for the year.
And it's trading
Aurora
near
Cannabis.
Yeah.
$100 million run rate for the year. Canopy Growth, $90 million run rate for the year.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
Told
yeah.
you. Meow.
Yeah.
Meow.
Meow.
Meow, meow.
I like chicken.
I like turkey.
I like liver. Please deliver. Right. What kind of show are we running here? It's a conversation.
Cat food show.
Cat food, yes. Actually, does anybody have shares in Purina? Put up your paw.
Meow, 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 meow.
Okay, clearly somebody smoked a
the
little bit too
term,
much
the
wacky
the
tobacco.
cat's ass.
Yeah.
That's a term of that's a when you say someone's the cat's ass.
Yeah.
You're giving them a compliment.
Well, it's not. When you're smoking a joint and you pass it to somebody and they go, "Oh fuck, it's all cat-assed." You know what that means? It's like when the resin gets up in the end and you don't have a filter in there and the end of the joint's all collapsed and it's like full of resin and you can't get any smoke out of it because it's cat-assed.
Yeah, but that wasn't the
That's not a
story I
compliment.
wanted to tell.
Oh, no, I know, but we're talking about cat-assing.
But when
gave me
you
a
say
compliment.
someone's the cat ass, you're giving them a compliment because you know why?
Cat's ass.
A cat really takes care of its ass. It's a very, very important thing to have proper,
Hygienic procedures.
for the cat's ass. Yeah. Yeah.
So is the cat in charge of the cat's ass or is it somebody else?
Well, let's see here. Let me think about that one.
Doom, 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 doom.
Yeah,
Anyway,
the cat takes care of the cat's ass.
the cat does it itself. That's a little bit disgusting, don't you think? I mean, the cat's licking its own ass. That's just, again, this show descends into toilet humor. I had a guy from the Archdiocese of London who was a subscriber. He asked if he could please be unsubscribed the other day. And I thought, his email address was dol.ca, and I thought, I'm going to go look up that domain because that sounds like it could be
DOL.
And it's Diocese of London, and I thought, oh, he probably watched the show and said, this is a little bit too
Racy?
racy for me. I'm going to unsubscribe. This fellow's got a bit of a foul mouth and even a more foul temperament and a foul disposition, and he's just foul. So it's good to know that there is entertainments for such foul-minded people.
Well, yeah, you can't please all the people all the time.
No.
Nor you should.
No, nor should
You really should try to please yourself without hurting anyone else.
And maybe one other person. I mean, in the evening, as the sun goes down. One other person. Foot rub, blowjob. Oh, what? Sorry. Was that my outside voice? Gannon, descending into disgustingness. Anyways, let's take a look at the cannabis indexes before we lose the rest of the body.
Cannabis indices.
Cannabis.
Look at
Oh,
this.
wait a sec. Don't flash to my...
Mad Men's up 9 cents, just flying.
Let's see, did I get filled? I got filled. I'm another 100,000 shares into that damn thing. Oh, I got filled on the Amex, too. Yeah, I heard a rumor that Amex might be...
I'm having luncheon tomorrow with the...
oh, you're having the...
with Victor's...
Victor
assistant,
Mature?
Victor's sort of...
Concubine?
left arm.
Left arm?
Yeah,
Whoa.
Wanda Cutler and I are going to have a
Oh,
little lunch.
Wanda!
Yeah.
I haven't seen Wanda in years.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll come and crash it. Would that be
Okay, well, we'll tell you where it is, and then we won't be
Yeah,
there.
I'm sure you
Yeah,
won't.
and then you can keep trying to crash it. You can
Right.
crash it all.
Oh, I could crash at...
So yeah, we're going to find out. There's some rumors running around, but we don't want to...
we don't want to ruin it for everyone.
No.
Cannabis indexes, like I said, are down. Let's take a quick look at what's happening there. Large cap index, we're going to look at the index page here and see who's up, who's not. A lot of Afria tacked on 5.42%
Freya's
today.
acting like a champion today, up 40 cents.
876 with,
Yeah.
on no news, right? I don't see any news. Kronos Group added 2.11%, up 33 cents to 15.96. But man, has that one had the wind knocked out of it. That's down over 50% from its high.
Kronos.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
touched
is.
$32 back in
Yeah.
earlier April, I guess it
And
was.
tons of cash.
Tons of cash. Weed, still looking awfully weak. The market really didn't like that quarter.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, and I mean, I guess they're saying, well, wait a minute. Now, what's going to change to make that market? I mean, are pot sales going to increase quarter to quarter here, or is it sort of maxed out already?
Do you think they're going to try to hire Bruce back?
No, I don't think they will.
No way. True Leaf Cannabis down 20 cents. The lovely and talented Nika Domi is going to interview Kim Rivers. Sorry.
Lil Kim.
I've got so
How
many
about little
Kims in
Kim?
my universe
How
right
about
now.
little
Kim
Kim?
Rivers is the CEO of Trulieve, and Nika Domi is going to have a conversation with Kim at some point next week via Skype. That'll be interesting. I think that'll be the first time we've had her on the show. But
Really?
yeah, I think so. I don't.
Well,
think
let's see what the S&P's doing here today.
Yeah, take a look. Check it out.
Okay, so
I'm going
here-
to pull up the other small cap cannabis index and see what's going on.
So what I want to make I got a point here. I got to
Spit it out.
Can we put up the chart here, or we have NDI? Well, we do. So here we do. Here we do. So here, this is what I have to say right now. I have to say this.
Right here, right now. There's no other place I'd rather
So
be.
look at this chart. Look at this chart, and we've got this action in here
Wow.
after a pullback from up on high. This
Choppy.
In fact, you were away, and I said to Nika, Nika, the market climbs a wall of worry, and it peaked right here. This was the all-time high. I believe that was a Friday. Okay,
That was over 3,000.
I was over 3,000, and markets climb a wall of worry. And since then, we've corrected a little bit, and now we've got this high. You know, we're range bound. Okay, so, and we can't seem to breach that line there.
Which is?
I don't know. I can't read. My eyes aren't that good to tell you. It doesn't matter. We're below it, and we keep bouncing into it, and then we route. If this thing fails here, and folks, what I want to say, if we breach this thing down here,
Okay.
then we're gonna
Here,
probably.
let me see that. I'll tell you what numbers those are.
Yeah. Okay.
Just
There you
because
go. Just because you can.
without the number, it's kind of like, oh,
Well,
Jesus, that is
here.
tiny.
Watch this. I know.
Can you make it bigger?
Can I make it
Now you
bigger?
made it
Can I
dimmer.
make it bigger? I've heard that before.
20. Jesus.
Ah.
Yeah.
Ah.
Anyways.
So look, we're in a consolidation phase, but we're below. In fact, we're below here too, which is sort of alarming. So we got a high here.
Are we in a consolidation phase or a
Yeah,
disintegration
we're in a
phase?
consolidation phase, and
Sure,
I
it's
think
not a disintegration phase. If
We
it
don't-
drops below that low,
then it starts
Katie
to get
bar the door.
Katie bar the door, yeah.
We're going for a joyride, Katie, and it ain't at Disney World.
And you know what? Look at Oxley's still hanging tough at 88 cents.
Really? It's amazing. Let's take a look at the heat map. Let's see where all the trading's happening. Here's a new feature on our little thing. Look
Look
at
at
that heat map. What's that symbol? Can you see that over there?
The one at the very, very bottom?
No, the one
I
at
think
the
it's
top, the bluest of the blue.
The bluest of the blue.
What is that?
FSD Pharma 1 cent.
FSD Pharma. So there you go. The heat on this heat map is FSD Pharma up
10%.
a penny.
There you go.
Yeah, that's 10%. It's up a penny, 10%. There's
Well.
the absence of interest in the cannabis sector, and probably the lack of resolution in the S&P is sowing an increasing level of uncertainty and risk-off sentiment in the equities market. Would you say that's the case? Especially when we keep fainting towards that top line, that high, and we can't break it, and we keep going back to that low. And as you say, if we break that low to the downside,
Then we're going to try and find another low, obviously. But I mean, look, we're trying here now. 1, 2. The point I want to make also, thanks for reminding me.
yes,
In the past, we've had corrections. It seems to bounce back, and now we've had 1, 2, 3. Let me just see here. And this is important. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 trading days where we can't break this line. Right there.
and now what?
Well, now we're going to keep back and forth until we do. And we tried today, and I see the market was up like close to 30 S&P points. It's now only up 22 points. Yeah, look at it. If we don't do it soon, the bears are going to take over.
The bears are going to come. If you go out in the woods today, you're going to be in for a surprise.
Is that Anne Marie song?
Burl Ives was the version I heard. Burl Ives. Zenabis announced a $25 million They added $25 million in new senior debt. They announced today, and they extended the partial conversion of secured convertible notes. Huh? What do you think of that? That doesn't do anything for you?
No.
You're not impressed?
CWeb 25, 26. Let's take a look at CWeb, see how it looks. on the chart here. What do you think?
Well, CWeb is probably one of the best performing companies among all of them in this.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Definitely is.
Curaleaf changed the date for their second quarter earnings release and call, which is like a little bit disconcerting, wouldn't you say? Wonder why. Oh, the internet's become slow. How nice. Previous announced due to scheduling conflict. Oh, somebody had a dentist appointment. Actually, I have a dentist appointment tomorrow. I'm going to get my teeth cleaned.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently they're filthy.
Apparently.
So tell me about the price of gold today, Edward.
Down just a couple of bucks.
Smidge?
Yeah, nothing. In fact, the candle is still, because it's rallied from the opening, the candle is still a green candle.
Is that right? So do you think that this would qualify as a higher low in the grand scheme of things over the last 30 days?
So there we go. There's the move in gold. And I'm going to put up a shorter term chart here. Just
So now that looks like consolidation to me ahead of a move higher.
well, look, we broke this. We don't get too excited here.
Boy,
You know what the problem is? They keep changing the system.
damn them.
So we broke that, right? We gapped. We in other words, you get into an area. We had a bit of a consolidation there. We broke out of that, and now we're right there. And really, we're only off, like, I think about $10, $12 an ounce from the high on bullion in this run. It's getting very comfortable here in the 15s, and one of these days, some other shoe's going to drop, and this thing's going to break through the 1540 level on its way to 16. And what's that going to do for Galane? I mean, geez.
Yeah, no kidding. This is the thing. I mean, the trade has not really come into the juniors in a big way.
No, not yet.
You know, and this I remember when I was much younger, 20 years ago, when gold started to really take center stage in 2000 after the collapse of the tech bubble. I remember thinking that there's, everybody's saying, oh, the gold's taking off, which means the juniors are going to fly. And I remember looking at all the junior golds and thinking, well, nothing's moving yet. But meanwhile, the old timers were all positioning themselves in these junior gold companies. And so by the time I was like, oh, there's a gold bull market underway, the juniors had made their move, and that was 2006. So in 2006 and beyond, the gold juniors had already really all come from these 6-7 cent levels. We're now trading over $1, and we're now making new moves into multi-dollar levels. If they were explorers and if they were miners, they were mid-tiers, they were mid-caps in no time. And so that's why this time I'm looking at this market and saying, this reminds me of when I was much younger. Gold was taking off. The naysayers were the most strident crowd out there, and you have to ignore those people. And this is where you make your money. You make your money when you're doing your buying, not when you're doing your selling.
Yeah, or patient. Yeah, wait for your price, and if you don't get your price, find something else.
Exactly.
Don't chase.
Don't chase. Well, I mean, there are exceptions to that. For example, when a company hits a massive deposit, there's a company we're watching now. I'm not going to talk about it.
You know what? Somebody brought this up last night, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah.
You just remembered?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and it's somebody
Yeah.
and they're talking about the big boulders of hi-ho.
Oh, that one.
Not that one?
Yeah, no, that wasn't the one I was going to talk about.
But there's another one.
Yes, there's another one. It's the one that you first told us about, and you're going to have lunch with the...
Well, no, that's the Amex.
Yeah, but that's my point. So Amex, I bought it at, I can't remember, 40-something cents, made some money off it, sold it.
I bought my first position at 19.
And now it's at 90 cents. I've sold out of it.
Sitting.
Right. So you say don't chase it, but I did buy 20,000 shares or something today at 89 cents, because if the rumor is true and they are in fact poised to hit basically what looks to be like a district scale deposit, then this thing could take up.
Yeah, and Sprott's funded it. The last time he put it, there was a $5 million financing. I think Sprott put in $3 million of the 5. But you know what? To your point, if what's your point? I feel like a statue now.
Yeah.
But the other one is the Australian one.
Oh yeah, Monterey.
You said it, not me.
It's not Australian.
Monterey.
That's not the one I was talking. I thought you were talking about Novo.
No, I'm talking about Monterey.
Let's see what Novo's doing. Pull up a chart for Novo.
What's the symbol?
Novo. Same as the name. Or is it? What do you got?
NOVO?
Yeah, Novo. So this is in Australia, and this thing was set at 70 cents, 80 cents for like 5-7 years throughout the nuclear winter that was the junior mining space, and it basically exploded to the upside on this discovery of all these large gold boulders that they were basically. You're not familiar with Novo? Quentin Henne is the CEO.
And they found, it took off, right?
Yeah. What's it doing now?
What's NOVO? What is this symbol?
I don't know. Novo.
On what exchange? CNX?
I think so. Novo Resources. NVO. Sorry, not no. So it's down to 230. This thing, like, look at that chart. It was up to,
Okay, okay.
Over a year ago now.
Yeah, but you know what? It corrected from about almost $3 level.
Oops, this is not
280.
the chart we're allowed to be showing. Oops, let's not look at that one. Yeah, that's the chart we wanted. Is that it?
Yeah.
You have up?
Yeah.
So let's go zoom out to 2-year look if you can. Yeah. So what was that big number down
There's
out
a
there?
2-year look.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was up at $8.
Yeah.
So back then gold was trading at like 11 to 1200. It was not a big gold market, and it took off.
That's $8 level.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. So they. The question is, are they going to, is that thing going to head back to $8 on more exploration? That's another story we need to start following.
What's the ticker for Monterey?
MREY. I own quite a bit of that. I own like 1.5 million shares of that.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I've been buying it.
Well, you must be done buying because now you're talking about it.
Well, actually, that's a good point.
Well,
Actually,
there's
I'm
no
not
bullshit here except the bullshit you get every day.
Yeah, I'm not ruling out buying more, actually. So this is another thing. So this thing I bought cheap, and I've loaded up on it cheap. But if it went to 50 cents and they proved out that they've got, some crazy, silver deposit, would I keep buying it and chase it? I would chase it, because if there's a gold and silver bull market coming away and the gold and silver ratio is going to come in like this over the next 5 years,
right,
then do I want to be long that? Yeah, I absolutely do. And that's the beautiful thing.
And to protect yourself, maybe you should sell some gold stocks that have moved up.
Oh, which I
sell
also
gold,
do.
buy silver.
Well, full disclosure, we're buyers, we're sellers every single day here. We don't even know. We don't know who's on first, what's on second.
We don't even know.
I don't even know what Ed's going to say next.
Do you know who the only two people that are in the Baseball Hall of Fame that have nothing to do with baseball?
No.
Abbott and Costello.
Abbott and Costello in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Because of that skit they did about who's on first.
Ah.
What's on second. But that's true. Abbott and Costello are in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Really? I never got that joke. To this day, I laugh at it when people tell it.
Well,
but
it's not a joke. It's a skit.
What's a skit?
Yeah.
Tell me about
Who's
it.
on first? Who?
Who?
That's the guy's name. Who? Who's on first? Right.
Who? The guy's name was who? That's the Abbott and Costello split? Boy, humor really has changed.
You got to watch. Okay, you know what? You know what? Tomorrow we'll play a 5-minute segment of that skit.
Really? Well, I don't know. Is that legal?
Willowy?
Is it Willowy? See, I'm channeling your 3 glasses of wine, and I haven't even had any.
Well, they were small glasses.
Yeah?
They're just the 7 ounce.
Really? 7 ounce.
Yeah, I heard about like
7 ounce. Wait a sec. Usually it's 5 ounces or 9 ounces. You found a sweet spot in the middle, 7 ounces. Is that the medium? Mm-hmm. Can I have a medium glass of wine over here, please?
A medium.
Anyway, so
okay.
So the S&P looks like it's not really. I predict the S&P is going to break down and head lower. And why do I say this? Because when everybody comes back from vacation, like I think really the only way it's able to hold up this level that it has is because most of the big traders are still at the lake and sitting around their chateaus in France and drinking overpriced wine. Well, I guess it's not overpriced if it's 100 years old now, is it? Unless, of course, it's champagne, in which case it's no good. Anyways, I digress. Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Thank you very much. Please subscribe to the newsletter because things are about to get really interesting come September. And yeah, there's a new trading system that's going to be rolled out here on the Midas Letter, and it's basically, well, what kind of trading system is that? Edward should say. And James says, it's the kind of trading system where every Tom, Dick, and Harry makes a shit ton of money, even if they only have a little bit. And am I full of shit? No, I'm not. No. I'm the opposite of full of shit. I've got all my shit on the floor beside me. I emptied myself out, so I'm not full of shit. Anyways, you can take this to the bank. Subscribe. See you guys all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. See you.